Let's go to the phones. Let's try this again. You calling from a 210 area code. Who's this?
Good afternoon. It's John from San Antonio.
John from San Antonio. I am so glad that you could hear me and I can hear you. Did you have a good New Year's?
Yeah, it was okay.
All right.
Happy New Year also to Michael, Matt, Jamie, and Brendan.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
All right. So the highlight for 2017 for me was Bernie Sanders' white paper showing the ways we should tax the rich to achieve Medicare for all, which is in stark contrast to the passing of the disastrous reverse Robin Hood tax abomination, which is the worst economic bill to take place in the 21st century. I agree with David Dayen that the 2020 Democratic candidate should run on reversing these atrocious tax cuts for corporations that already have record profits and the red state rich. But I'm afraid only Bernie's going to do it if he runs, which I hope he will.
Well, you're afraid that Bernie's going to be the only one who's going to run on it, or the only one who's going to be sincere about it? Because
I think he's going to be the only one who's
my
probably
sense
going to run on it.
They're all going to. They're all. I mean, I think there's going to be. I think it's going to be the majority of the candidates are going to run on some version of it. I mean, I really do think that this is. But if you start to look at like what Kristen Gillibrand is doing right now, you see what Cory Booker is doing right now. I'm not speaking to their sincerity. I'm speaking to how they're trying to position themselves, and it seems quite apparent to me that they all have the understanding that this is coming from an excitement on the left, and they don't want to be out there and being taken, fire from the left in any meaningful sense. That's my guess.
No, I think you're right about that, but at the same time, I mean, Bernie has all the loyalty. I mean, people know Bernie. I mean, they've known what he's done all of his life, and especially the millennials. They're committed to Bernie. And so, if you look at, like, Justice Democrats, then right now there are 51 candidates, and I've enjoyed watching all the interviews on TYT, and it's good to see people, putting up videos on YouTube that are getting thousands of hits, talking about Justice Democrats.
Yep.
So I see a lot of energy in that area. So right now, Democrats need to flip 24 seats and to gain control of the House of Representatives, and they currently lead in 26 races already. In the latest polling that came out in the Ann Seltzer poll, that came out on December 3rd to the 6th, has a generic Democrat up by 47 to 29. That's in Rod Blum's district, incumbent Republican, which is really unbelievable. I mean, and because the other polls that had him around, I think the first one was 6, and it's 8, and now it's up to 18. And I guess the only variation is that you're talking about generic as opposed to putting the names in. But Trump's totals were, I think, 35% approval rating, 60% disapproval in Iowa, a state that he won by 9 points. So I mean, there's just this deluge of against Trump. Also, in the 11th District of New Jersey, a generic Democrat is leading incumbent Republican Rodney Freelandhausen 49 to 40, that's up from 2 points. So, I mean, there have just been more and more, polls that have come out that I haven't talked about. One in the California 10th, the generic Democrats up by 8 points in Mindy's district. I believe that's this 8th District of Pennsylvania, generic Democrat up by 6 points. So with each passing day, you see this anti-Trump sentiment growing, and people are more involved. This is going to be a great year, I think. And I mean, for me personally, it's an election year, so it's gonna. I just feel all this energy, and so I think it's going to be phenomenal. I know there's a lot of Cliff bashers out there, and I do wish he was a Bernie Sanders supporter, but, he usually provides really good political analysis,
right.
And I agree with him on many issues. So, he mentioned the three races: the Rohrabacher race, the Culberson race, and the Katko race. And I just want to say, I mentioned all of those races, months ago. So
Right.
just pointing that out.
Maybe he stole it from you.
also,
But go ahead. Is that what you're implying?
Yeah. No, I'm
okay.
not implying
Okay,
that.
okay, good.
I also disagree with the assertion that the Senate is a 50-50 toss-up right now because of the uncertainty of the races. The Heitkamp race in North Dakota, where she's down in polling, McCaskill race where she's down in polling, the Donnelly race where there is no polling,
Right.
and the Tester race where there is no polling. So, I mean, once we get 3 months, 6 months into it, we're going to see a lot more how it's going to shape up. But he made a good point. Now that Moore's in office, if they win Arizona, Democrats win in Arizona, they win in Nevada, and they win in Tennessee, they can actually lose one of those races and still take the Senate.
That's right.
That's an excellent point.
And look,
Okay.
it's not inconceivable that there are going to be 2 elections in Arizona.
That's correct. That's a good point. And also in Mississippi also, because of Thad Cochran.
Right.
So, the Republicans are getting together now, and I hear Ryan talking about the cuts to the social safety net, and Trump talking about infrastructure and building a wall. Now, McConnell seems the only one that's actually, just stuck on the ground in reality and realizing that he could lose the Senate. He said so, to an anonymous source, and he doesn't want to talk about cuts. Do you think that some of these cuts will be tried? Or will McConnell just say, let's not do this, I'm not going to do it? And how do you think that'll play out?
I think, look, maybe this is wishful thinking, but I think this is Paul Ryan basically saying, hey, when I run for president in 2020 or whenever it is, or will you keep me, I'm going to tell the Freedom Caucus, we're going to cut Medicare and Social Security. I don't think that is. I don't feel like that is their primary agenda, right? I mean, I think that they know that in 2 years or 4 years they're going to be able to cry about the deficit because it's going to be much larger than we anticipated or they anticipated. And they're going to use that as their leverage. And we're going to get back to where we were in 2011, let's say under the Obama administration at one point. So I don't think that's going to happen right now. Look, they got what they wanted, which was their, and the rest of the stuff is going to be the judges. That's what McConnell is focusing on. And it's quite possible Trump is going to try and push an infrastructure bill. Democrats would be stupid to work with him on this. And I think, here's the question. The question is, has the narrative been set? Is there anything that Donald Trump can do that would change his approval rating? Is there anything that the Republicans can do that would change their approval rating or hurt the Democrats' approval rating? I mean, that's really the big question. I would be very surprised if we're going to see much done. But the Democrats better deliver for DACA at the very least. For DACA folks. They better deliver, and whether that delivery is in the form of actual legislation or them walking out of both chambers of Congress and saying, "Good luck, you pass your own continuing resolutions, you pass your own budget, you deal with the debt limit." And
do you think it's possible they'll actually do that?
Do I think it's possible they'll actually do it? I would be surprised if they did not. I would be surprised if they did not. I mean,
I just wonder on some level, and this is the part that I don't even think is like the kind of there's the one set of problems with the Democrats is that too many of them, they're corporate and neoliberal and so on, and that's a real problem. But I also some of them just seem like
squishy,
constitutionally and literally institutionally. Yeah, I mean they're squishy because they actually believe it. Like when Richard Blumenthal, maybe he's revised himself on this, but several months ago when he was out, even like at the outset of the Trump administration, saying, "Hey, if we take back the Senate, we will not do what they did on their judicial appointments because two wrongs don't make a right." This is a grown adult man in the United States Senate talking like that after they have just stolen a Supreme Court seat and are like hijacking this tremendously dangerous and extreme agenda. And it seems
I think
to
at
me
the beginning
that's a pathology.
that's a democratic pathology, no doubt. And I think maybe at the beginning, they were more inclined to have that. I mean, remember, Bernie Sanders was saying, and I don't think he was necessarily being.
I think he was being a bit more operational.
Maybe I think, but he was still saying, we'll work with them on stuff if it's good.
Well, I think it's I actually had problems with that too, but I do think it's different to say, look, if he's actually wants to propose a bill that's a good infrastructure bill, I'll vote for it, is different than we are going to preemptively promise to not do what they did to a judicial appointment.
That's right. But Bernie Sanders wouldn't say that today. I mean, I think there's an awareness
totally
by
true.
Democratic politicians that their party has gotten more aggressive, that the voters have gotten more aggressive, that they have moved to the left in terms of ideology, but in terms of like process, even they have moved towards. They've been more polarized.
Well, even the moderates are not satisfied. Like they're terrified by this.
Of
That's
course.
the dirty secret of the grassroots. There's all these political distinctions, but even people that are more center left are totally terrified and don't accept this.
That's right. Appreciate the call, John. Hi, folks. Sam Cedar here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos